What's up, YouTube? Finally got done doing my water changes today. Today's topic is probably going to be comparing the natural aquarium with actually how nature works, but really I'm just going to talk about it while I'm showing the water parameters. The parameters I wrote down last week's before the water change, and then yesterday I wrote down after that video I did, wrote down the water parameters before I did the water change today, and then I let the tank sit for an hour after I did the water change just to get a more accurate reading of the parameters. I got my lid off right now. These tanks are pretty hot. This one's at 81.9. Got all the lids open now. About to take these all the way off. Maybe gotta let that plant tie it down or something. But this other tank is at 81.1 and I got the whole lid off, and it's 84 degrees outside at night. In daytime is almost 90. And I got done with this. You can tell this one's a lot cleaner than yesterday's video. I cleaned the glass, the front glass only, and this one's definitely looks a lot cleaner. But the water parameters are the thing that catches my attention. And maybe I haven't done comparison and all this stuff. This is going to be right off the fly. I never just practice videos or anything. I just do it on the fly. But I use 5-in-1 test strips and the master test kit. I do them both. But since the tanks are about to turn off in a little bit, well, these two are winding down, but I got my light on my phone brighter, that way it doesn't look like it, but you can kind of tell it looks dimmer on the top tank at this angle. But the water parameters are a little bit iffy. I added these plants from my 40-gallon high-tech in here. Hopefully they do better. This tank seems to grow plants better than my others. I am not going to dose all in one from my aquarium co-op until I get the parameters where I want them. Nitrates do look better. But let me just go ahead and start talking about the results. But here is my 250-gallon. This one's before the water change from last week. Oh no, this is this week's. Well, whoops, my bad. This is last week's. Tell the paper's messed up more. But these are the drops from the master test kit. This is the dipstick. And you can tell the nitrates are 40 to 80 on both. Which means that it's too much circulation, but that means that it's probably 50 to 60 parts per million, because the color is in between on both of these. They're in between both. They're not actually 100% accurate. So I'm gonna buy a new test kit eventually. They're like $250 for a more accurate kit. It's worth the money. But you can see the pH is 7.0. I got my KH at 40, which is consistently at 40, but my GH is at 180. Ammonia is at 0 because dipstick doesn't come with it. You gotta buy them separately. And the drop kit has a KH and GH separately, which I might do drop kit instead of the dipstick because these run out too much. It's a waste of money sometimes when you can do this one, always have them, and know when you're gonna have to get more. But on the drops, it reads between 7.0 and 7.2. This one says 7.0, so this one might be like 7.1. So I'm gonna stick with 7.1 on this one, but basically 7.0. And then for the 250 gallon on the yesterday's test, this is what I got. I didn't do drops. I just did the test strips on it, but I got 180 for GH. As you can tell, it's the same. 40 is the same. Well, this one's worse, 40 to 80. But, oh no, I'm sorry, KH 40, the same. I change them up, that way it's easier for you to write down. But nitrate's 40, so it's the same. So, I just don't like that it says 40 to 80, so that's pretty high. And this time it's at 40, and that means adding the plants helped bring the nitrates down and keep them more stable. And that's just 4 plants. So I could probably, if I copy some of the other YouTubers that say you can leave it up to 50 or 60. Yeah, I can go one more week, but that could still hurt the fish. So I'm trying to get down to 20. Maybe closer to 0, but I don't want 0 just in case that's a sign of beneficial bacteria. There's a lot of scientific tests getting done to where people are finding out a lot of things we're learning is actually lies, it's just a business. So we're about to find out in the future. But that's how the 250 looks. Oh, that's a 75, my bad. Got so many things going on. Let me get this going better. Ah, there's the 250. Well, anyways, here's the test. Before water change. This was yesterday's. This was a week ago. See, still 40 to 80. And then pH is at 7.0, 40 kH. All these numbers are still the same. And then here's today after the water change. My nitrates are no longer 40 to 80. They're at 40. Because dipstick is actually the same color as in the 40 section, which you can tell. Goes 40 to 80. I need one that goes in 10 increments of 10 or 0.5. I don't like this big jump because you can easily be thinking 80 and it could be 160, and vice versa. Like same thing with pH. I want 0.1 increments, not 0.5, because that could be the killer. It just tells me it's not accurate enough. And same thing with this one. Whoops, let me turn it upside down. See, goes by 0, 5, 10, 20. I don't like that. I want more accuracy. But this kit is more accurate than the other kit. When I tested the 40 to 80, it wasn't this number. It was almost like this color and this color. It was like in between. So I usually just go 40 to 80, and at that point I just do water change. I don't like the what if. I'd rather it be down here. So here is, as you can tell after I did the water change. I'll probably do the drop test tomorrow just to see if there's any difference, but you can tell that my nitrates are 40. Nitrates were 40 to 80, so now I'm getting a lower number, so that I might have to do more of a water change 2 times a week. I used to do 50%, which I believe it would bring it down to 20, but with the ammonia in my tap water, I'd rather just do 25 twice a week. So I'm going to attempt that this week, and maybe I'll get some more results next Sunday, which if the journey goes well, we'll get some good results and start physically doing scientific tests and all these things, because the 250 is going to be a good project to make into a natural aquarium. So you see GH is stable, pH is 7.0, it's 7.0 over here, 40 for KH, KH is at 20 to 40, so it is going down, and this is after the water change. I don't get it. Usually I've read that water change will raise the KH. My tap water doesn't go up on KH. I'm about to show the parameters on what the engineer that came in from the city got. So I'm just going to go through the other tanks. And let me show y'all the 75 gallon that I messed up with first. And that's that top one. And here's the 75 gallon a week ago. 180 JH, 40 KH, 7.0 for pH, nitrates 40, nitrite 0. This one does not have ammonia. And I don't know where my drop test paper is. I probably didn't do it because this is one of my most stables. It's probably the 3rd most stable tank I have. And it's the, 3 months old, which is nice. And it's also the deepest substrate. So there's a pro. And here's my test from today after the water change. After the water change, nitrates are still the same. I did a 25% on every tank. pH, the same. Or, yeah. So KH is the same, GH the same, no difference. I haven't done the water change test from this one. I ran out of dipsticks. I am all out, but I'm gonna do the drop test tomorrow when I do all the other tanks and find out that. But this is 1 week after I did the water change from this side. This is a week ago. This was yesterday's test before I do a water change, and it's stable. It stays the same. I like that. But I gotta find out how low it goes to see if I should do more of a water change, less, or just add more plants, which is my answer, is just adding more plants. It's always going to be the best thing. So there's the 75. Now we'll go to the 40-gallon breeder. And then here's my 40-gallon breeder. And I don't think anybody on YouTube will do this. They're too scared for the facts to come out. I like to learn and expand and get taught things that I'm doing wrong. It's all about that. So here's a 40-gallon breeder. Last week, 180, 80 kh, which is insane. But I do like that number because the higher it is, the more stable pH is, and it's at 7.5. 180 GH, and the nitrates are 40 parts per million. Now here it is yesterday. Nitrates is 40, same thing. 7.0 pH, and went lower. My pH that was at 7.5. KH is at 40. KH 80. So if the pH is 7.0 and 7.5 difference, my KH was higher, so my pH was higher. So now my KH is lower and my pH is lower. So that is actually verifying what a lot of YouTubers that do natural aquariums say. And a lot of people say KH maintains the stability, but you can't have too much KH or else you get too much pH. And then my GH is 180, same. It's simple. It's just doing tests, comparing them, writing them down. I do this a lot. I flooded my big tank like years ago, and I lost my big notepad that I had all of my old notes. So things happen. You're always gonna flood a tank one time in your life. Luckily, it took me 5 years, and it was on the worst tank to flood. But I haven't done an after test. I'm gonna do it tomorrow with the drop test. But this is a good sign because I do want the pH at 7.0 for the plants. I don't like the KH so low, but it's kind of going with what some people say, that lower KH will lower your pH. But I don't want that to go as low as the next, or the second, one of the other tanks I'm going to talk about, which is a 20 gallon. Next tank is a 30 gallon that has only been set up for almost this week will be a month. That one seems to be pretty stable. But yeah, that KH number, I think that's the magic number for 7.0, 6.5 and up, between that range. And we'll get that. Maybe next Sunday I'll have these numbers. But I do need to buy the GH and KH drop test for this kit. I want the accuracy. I don't like the guessing if it's in between or not. But we'll talk about the 30 gallon now. And then I'll start doing my talk about everything else. And here's the 30 gallon before, a week ago. And here it is yesterday. And I only tested today after the water change on 3 tanks. That's all the strips I had left. And I just tested the problem tanks, the tanks that I'm having issues with, that I'm noticing things wrong because of my tap water. And here's one thing. KH 40, KH 40. pH 7.5, pH 7.5. GH 180, GH 180. This tank is stable as possible. In 1 week, those are the numbers I get, which is great. I don't have a lot of plants in that tank, so I do expect this number to go down once I start adding more. And especially this number, I'm thinking I could keep it at 20, but we'll find out in the future. I won't do the test until tomorrow. I'm just doing it on the after water tank on the problem ones. That way we can see what's actually going on together. And then here's a 20 gallon. This is my 20 gallon last week. 180 GHK is at 0, which is, I don't like that. That should have never been there. I don't know how that is happening. It just came out of nowhere, and that's been like that for, I think, 3 weeks now. So I'm trying to fix that. pH is 6.5, which is good, but with that at that number, that means it's gonna drop way low. It's gonna be too acidic. My nitrates is 0, nitrates at 8. And that is what is happening with that blue ram. It is a cichlid, and cichlids are really messy, which is why I added those other plants to see if I can manage it. If that fixes a lot of this on that tank, I need fast growing plants in that tank, like really nice ones. And then here it is yesterday. Nitrates is at 40, nitrates is at 80. That is something I don't understand. Nitrates in 1 week from one day to the next, from 1 week to the next. If it's stable, it should stay the same. It's not stable because the KH is still at 0 before the water change. 120 GH now. GH was 180. This is something I'm trying to figure out what I can do, what I can add. I've been watching a lot of their videos, Father Fish, Fish Story. Been watching their videos, Dr. Novak, King of DIY, Aquarium Co-op, Dustin's fish tanks I like a lot. But I'm trying to wrap my head around a lot of these to see what I can do, or just remove a fish, which that's easier. But right now, because I got babies in the 30 gallon, I don't have a place to put them. So I gotta hurry up and get my 60 gallon cube set up. It'll be a process, but it's the journey that I'm looking for. And excuse me, this heat's killing me. It's making my back spasm, but this is after water change. Today after water change. Nitrate 0, nitrite 0, nice. Nitrate 40, look at the nitrate, 40 on there, and right here it's at 80. My nitrates did not go down after I did a 50% water change. Did not go down. pH is now at 7.0, which is great. pH is at 6.5, 6.5. KH went up, 0 to 40. It's in between, so I'm guessing it's at 20. My KH is at 0. So now I'm going to test how long does it take for the KH to go down to 0. If that's the case, then my plants are soaking up all the nutrients and leaving me with nothing. And I also read that high nitrate can cause KH to go down. So there's no decaying leaves in that tank. So it has to be all those snails, which I just threw some into that tank. Oh, they're starting to turn off. But it should help. We'll see what will happen. That assassin snail is working too slow. I might go get another one. But you can see KH is 0 to 40. GH, it's 120 now. This one, 180. This one, 120. 120. So I'm getting somewhere with this tank. I used to go a month before I needed a water change. Ever since I added that German blue ram, it's gone AWOL. So it should be a good project to figure out. And then we're going to talk about my 3 gallon. I don't like smaller tanks than 20 gallons, but that tank was just to quarantine new fish that I buy, if I ever buy any, or a sick small fish, or new plants, get them ready. Just for emergencies pretty much, and growing plants that I want to grow before I put it in my tank, because they can come with ick from the store. I don't want to bring things to destroy fish that I've had forever. So let me change this. Here's the 20 gallon, or the 3 gallon I meant. Look at those numbers. 120 parts per million on GH. KH is 40. pH is 7.0. to 7.5. It's in the middle. And nitrite 0, nitrate 40. This is last week's, and it's been that was a week before a month. Yesterday was a month of no water change, and that's where it's at. Look at this number. Yesterday's 0 on nitrite 0, nitrate 20. This one has nitrate 40. It's getting better. I did add those mossballs, so they absorb a lot of nutrients, so it's bringing my nitrates down. I don't need to do water change on that tank. pH is at 7, KH is at 40, GH is 180. It is pretty stable. These numbers are probably, some of them are higher and lower because of mossballs. And that fish also got rid of some of the sand in the middle to get under that driftwood stuff I have, the small ones. But that guy is just going to be there for another week. I want to make sure he's ready to go into this other tank, and there's no babies in that tank. Even though my jaguar will probably eat them all, but he's been beat up from those 2 breeding pairs too, which it's his fault. He shouldn't be going after them. And I try to feed him good, but it's a learning curve. He's still young. Young fish are still learning. That's why parents raise them to a certain age until they can defend themselves. And then here's after the water change. Nitrates 20. Nitrates 20. Nitrates 40. After the water change, nitrates stayed the same. My tap water does have nitrates, but it's 0.5 parts per million. So it gets fixed with prime. So that's not a big deal. pH 7.0, 7.5. Matches this one. This one's stable at 7.0. But I'm guessing that's because my tap water, well, after this you'll see the engineer's test. The tap water is at 8.1 pH. Way too high. Here's the KH, 40, KH 40, KH 40. 120 GH, this one's at 180 and this one's at 120. So it is pretty good. This one's the most stable. I just topped it off today. It just needed a half a gallon of water. That's how much it needed. This heat's killing me. This tank I gotta top it off every other day with a gallon. This one, when it's open, it's usually like half a gallon. The 30 gallon is gonna be half a gallon. This tank is a gallon. This one's half a gallon. So this heat's killing me. So those are the numbers I'm getting on that tank. I'm not gonna do water changes on it. And I don't even have deep substrate like everybody says. I have 1 fish in there. It just doesn't matter. A water change on that tank, I did it once when I had 4 babies in there. They all died. They all died. It lasted 2 days and they died. There was Daphnia in there. They all died. I had all these microorganisms. They all died. That's with only less than an inch, like half an inch of sand. Had all these organisms. The fish ate them when I first put in there, but the water change, I did a 25% water change on that tank, half a gallon, and it still did this. So I'm not doing water change. I'm gonna keep it like this. I like it. This is here we go. And here is the city's engineers numbers. This is from my spigot. This is from the tap water that I use to do my water change. This is from the outside. They let it run for 15 minutes before they tested it. But here's what I got with ammonia. 0 from the outside, 0.09, almost 0.1 from my tap. That should not be happening. Not at all. Either our pipes are going bad or something's going on, because they are constructing on our water tower. So they're doing something wrong. And you can see the chlorine, 3.5 parts per million. Outside, inside it went down a little bit. That's better, but that's why we have prime. Alkalinity, here's the test. KH, 78 outside, 80 on the tap. Why is it that my KHs on my tanks are 40 after doing water changes? Most of these don't change. Some of them will go down. And it all depends on how much plants I have too. and how deep the substrate is, which the substrate deepness, I'm starting to think it doesn't even matter. Because sand, it can create, I think it's anoxic that doesn't need oxygen. So it's so fine that it just automatically is going to create a lot of this. After an inch is going to be so little oxygen that it doesn't matter. And right here you can see that this has braces like the top does right there. They stop right here on right here. It's right under it, so it's only like right here is half an inch. It stops right there. Right here, well, actually, let me rephrase that. Right here, it stops, and then right here it gets a whole inch deep. Right here is probably like an inch and a half. If you can see, it's like 1 inch. Okay, 1 3/4. So it does get deeper in the back, but that's one problem that I've noticed is the KH is not, like maybe the prime's destroying that, but I used to do my tanks for how much water with prime that I put in, but now I've been doing it because I've seen people say treat the whole water. This could be caused by treating the whole water, because when water is balanced inside the tank, you're basically neutralizing it with prime instead of just treating the water that you're adding. And that's the pH. 8.13 out of the spigot, 8.12 out of my tap. That's why I have so much driftwood. That helps neutralize it. Now, the thing I'm testing is how much driftwood can I take out to level it at 7.0 on some tanks. I might be able to take out one small one, maybe not, maybe so. We'll see. We'll see whenever I get to that point. And then hardness, GH, 84 out of the spigot, 70 out of the tap. My hardness in my fish tanks are like 120 plus. So that's really what I don't care. This is just chloramine. Didn't test. It's the same numbers as chlorine. It just means total. It's something that the engineer told me, but I'm noticing these numbers is a problem whenever it comes out of my tap at higher ammonia than it is outside. That should not be happening. But this is one reason why my tanks, my 20 gallon is out of whack. And I don't know, maybe people can give me some more advice. Maybe I had never heard of some and haven't tried some. So I want something new to try. I don't want to keep on trying things that sometimes work and sometimes don't. Want something that's guaranteed to work. But that's that. Oh, and I got my 40 gallon lid off just to cool down the tanks. Because tomorrow's supposed to be 96 degrees and I'm not ready to lose fish because the temperature skyrockets. But according to nature, when I went swimming at the lake last month, I was swimming with my scuba, not my scuba gear, but my snorkel stuff, going through the plants and everything, and every current was either really cold, like 72 degrees, or 80. It was that big of a difference every current. Fish were swimming through it fine. So temperature swings are not an issue. That does not really affect your fish. As long as it's within the numbers, it is okay. And I did see some planaria in the lake. And where the plants were most lush, there was more current. The less current you have, the less your plant's going to be happy. You have to have a current. You got to be able to see your plants moving like that. You can barely see it, but you can see them. You got to have some movement. Like this tank. There is really not that much movement, but you can see, I don't know if you can see the little particles. Snails are destroying it. Come on, buddy, get out of the way. See those little particles moving? There is current. This is how this tank looks after I do a water change with sponge filters. It takes longer to clear up and everything. But these guys are pretty nice. But I'm noticing these cardinal tetras, the wild caughts are dead, but obviously. But stay still. But the tank raised, they're great. They're not shy at all. They live with these neons. Neons are more aggressive than the cardinals, I will say. If you can see that corridor, he's been, the other side doesn't have his little fin on the other side. Let me get a better view. Oh, come on. Right there. He's missing it. These guys most likely ate him off. because I have a skinny guy somewhere if I can find him. Ah, right there. He eats, but he wants to eat other stuff too. I don't know what to do. I'm probably gonna start throwing in some more beef heart. I don't want to get them used to it. I want to mix everything up. But I got all the food. That's for my Oscar's food. My 2 Oscars. All those are for him and her. They're over here asking for food. And that is the other side for all these other fish. So one thing I noticed also is these fish are mostly raised are bred in tanks, not ponds. These aren't. These, if you look at videos, they're pushing their stomach. They're like pushing their stomach to get all the eggs and sperm out. So I don't care what people say. They're not. If they're wild, they're not. If they're wild caught, treat them like wild caught. If they're tank raised or farm raised, they don't have the instincts. Parents haven't raised them and showed they don't know what big fish that eat them look like. So you can't treat them like wild fish. Animals are smart. They're not stupid. Like this guy, I could easily just go right here. This guy doesn't like me. It lets me touch him sometimes, but she's not used to me. I bought her that big. I bought her at 8 inches. She's already like at 10 or 12. But this guy, he'll come up to me. He'll let me touch. She likes to bite. See? I'm not scared. She lets me touch her. So I don't know what people think, but this is my new project, and those numbers are gonna be stable. I'm gonna working on them. It's looking better. I'm doing changes as I go. I do forget to make videos when I'm doing changes because I'm so busy, but it's life. You can tell all the babies and their parents are ready to eat. I take my time feeding them, and hopefully that guy, I can get him to let me pet him. Her, she probably won't let me. But yeah, this is the tanks, and this is how my tank looks at night. Well, it's a little bit brighter because of other tanks in the back, but you can kind of tell when it's dark. It looks pretty good. I kind of think this guy looks like it when the other tank's lights are off with the blue lights. And then here's the other one. I do not like turning on, there's my Jag. I do not like turning on the lights after they're off. Messes up the pattern. It's all about consistency. But this video is long like last one, but thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Any pointers that could help improve everything I'm trying to do would be awesome. Thank you guys. God bless.